On a quiet California morning, a billionaire tech entrepreneur stepped into a car that, according to the laws of physics, shouldn't exist. No battery swap, no charging cable, no solar panels, just motion. An entire vehicle, supposedly powered by nothing but its own internal systems. They said it was impossible until Africa built one. Today, we uncover the moment an American businessman finally put Africa's self-charging electric vehicle to the ultimate test on U.S. roads. A cargo plane door opens. A sleek, matte black SUV rolls out. No brand logos, no exhaust pipe, just a silent hum. The vehicle arrived under tight security. No media coverage. No public announcement. It was simply known as Prototype S, a machine that defied every convention of electric mobility. The entrepreneur watches quietly as technicians roll the car onto American soil. Our test driver wasn't just any businessman. He was an investor who had funded battery tech, hydrogen experiments, and EV startups for over a decade. He had seen every energy breakthrough and every failure. But Africa's S1 caught him off guard. A shot of his hand gliding over the dashboard, no power button, no ignition key. Just a single word glowing faintly. Engage. He presses the button. The cabin lights up smoothly. Zero vibration. Zero engine noise. Unlike traditional EVs, the S1 did not display a state of charge percentage. Instead, it showed something entirely different, something engineers still debate today. A gauge labeled energy loop stability, 100%. If accurate, this meant the vehicle was sustaining its own power indefinitely. The SUV glides out onto a suburban test track. The first few meters were uneventful. Smooth acceleration, responsive steering. But the real test wasn't about comfort. The entrepreneur pushes the accelerator harder. 0 to 60 in seconds, effortless. It was about how the vehicle maintained power without ever drawing from an external source. Half a mile into the drive, the car's internal monitor registers something unexpected. A subtle spike upward from 100% to 102%. An increase, not a decrease. As if the car generated more energy the faster it moved. Technicians monitoring remotely exchange confused looks. The entrepreneur laughs under his breath. This changes everything, he whispers. He merges onto a public highway. Other drivers turn their heads, drawn to the silent, futuristic machine gliding past them. For the first time in American history, a self-charging African EV was now moving freely on U.S. roads. The SUV vibrates again just for a split second, like something inside is recalibrating. The warning flashes brighter, then fades, then flashes again. The entrepreneur steadies his breathing, trying to understand what triggered it. "Come on, talk to me," he mutters, eyes locked on the display. The gauge dips from 102% back to 100, then jumps to 103. Cars around him maintain their speed, oblivious to the silent drama unfolding inside the S1. The businessman eases his foot off the accelerator, but the spike continues. "Why are you climbing?" he whispers. The AI system inside the vehicle emits a soft chime, almost like a heartbeat. Then a message appears. Kinetic field stretching. Recommended. Maintain speed. He frowns. Maintain speed? You're telling me how to drive now. But he follows the instruction. He holds the car steady at 65 miles per hour. The road straightens out. The hum inside the cabin deepens, smooth, powerful, self-assured. The gauge stabilizes again at 104%. Impossible, he breathes. Then, through the driver's side window, something catches his eye. The streetlights above him flicker as he passes. 1, then 2, then 3. No way. He glances at the rearview mirror. The lights behind him flicker again, following the car's path like a wake on water. The technicians back at the temporary control center notice it too. "We're seeing electromagnetic interference from the vehicle," one of them says. "Is he accelerating?" "No," another replies. "It's the field. It's expanding." Inside the SUV, the entrepreneur taps the screen. It doesn't respond. A new message appears on its own. Energy loop at max efficiency. Do not power down. The businessman's eyes widen. Wait, why would I need to power down? What happens if I... Before he can finish the thought, the steering wheel tightens slightly in his hands. Not locking. Not fighting him. Just guiding. As if the car wants to choose its own direction. The highway curves left. The S1 follows perfectly, but with a precision that feels almost too perfect. He takes a deep breath. All right, S1, show me what you're trying to do. The vehicle signals automatically, its turn indicator blinking without his touch. It exits the highway. The businessman doesn't interfere. He lets it happen. The SUV slows to 40, then 30, then 20. It enters a quiet industrial district. The streets are empty. The air feels heavier. The hum inside the car slows, changes pitch, becomes deeper. Then the screen goes black. For the first time since the drive began, silence. Complete silence. The entrepreneur's heart pounds. He places his hand on the dashboard. Hey, what's happening? S1. Then, in the stillness of the cabin, the screen flickers back on. Not with a gauge. Not with a warning. But with a location. A small blinking. A warehouse, just 200 meters ahead. The car rolls forward on its own, almost like it's being pulled by an invisible force. The entrepreneur grips the wheel, this time unsure if he should stop the vehicle or let it take him to whatever is waiting inside that warehouse. And that is exactly where the drive was about to take its most shocking turn yet. The SUV creeps forward, its headlights casting long, cold beams across the cracked pavement. The warehouse ahead looks abandoned, dusty windows, rusted metal siding, a giant sliding door half open like a mouth waiting to swallow whatever approaches. The entrepreneur swallows hard. You brought me here, why? He taps the brake gently. Nothing happens. The vehicle keeps rolling at a steady crawl, slow but deliberate. Okay, that's new. He considers shifting into park, but something in his instinct stops him. He lets the S1 lead. As the SUV approaches the entrance, the overhead lights in the warehouse flicker on, one by one, like a path being revealed. The air feels charged, humming with invisible tension. The car glides inside, and the door behind him begins to close automatically, sealing them in. For a moment, everything is still. Then the screens inside the cabin light up simultaneously, every panel, every strip, every instrument glowing with a soft blue pulse. The businessman watches as symbols he doesn't recognize ripple across the displays, almost like another language. What are you showing me? A low resonance vibrates through the floor of the warehouse. The SUV stops in the center of a marked circle, faded paint, nearly erased by time. The blue pulse inside the cabin intensifies. Suddenly, a voice, synthetic, calm, but unmistakably intelligent, echoes through the speakers. Calibration sight reach. The entrepreneur stiffens. This wasn't in any briefing. This wasn't part of the test. Calibration for what? He whispers. The voice responds. Loop amplification. Before he can react, the entire warehouse comes alive. Lines of dim lights on the walls flare up in a synchronized sequence, forming a spiraling pattern around the vehicle. Metallic panels in the ceiling rotate with a mechanical groan, revealing an array of coils and sensors that begin to hum in unison. The businessman looks around, stunned. This place that was built for the car. The S1's headlights dim. Its body emits a faint white glow, barely visible, but undeniably there. The energy loop gauge on the dash begins climbing again. 105%, 108%, 112%. No, this is too much, he says, reaching for the door handle. It locks instantly. A red pulse flashes through the cabin. Stabilization in progress. Do not exit. He pounds the window once, frustrated, and then freezes. Because something is appearing at the far end of the warehouse. A figure. A silhouette. Someone standing perfectly still, backlit by the blinding glow of an overhead lamp. The entrepreneur squints, trying to make out the face. But the figure doesn't move. Doesn't speak. Just watches him, as the SUV continues to fill with light. The businessman's breath quickens. Who are you? He shouts. No answer. The gauge climbs higher, 118%, 123%, 130%. The hum becomes a rumble. The floor vibrates. The figure finally raises a hand, slowly, deliberately, and points directly at the S1. The entrepreneur feels a chill crawl up his spine. The car responds instantly. A beam of energy, vertical, bright, almost liquid, erupts around the SUV, enclosing it in a shimmering column that stretches from floor to ceiling. Dust swirls violently. The lights flicker. The silhouette steps backward into the shadows. The businessman shields his eyes as the glow intensifies. And then, something inside the beam begins to take shape. Something the entrepreneur can't believe he's seeing. Something that shouldn't exist outside theory or fantasy. The S1 isn't just amplifying energy anymore. It's creating something. And as the glow sharpens, the impossible form becomes clearer, inch by inch. Inside the blinding column of energy, the shape continues to solidify, slowly, deliberately, like something being assembled atom by atom. The entrepreneur leans forward, eyes wide, heart pounding against his ribs. The SUV's structure is changing. Its edges ripple like liquid metal. Contours stretch, compress, reshape. Panels shift position without any mechanical noise, transforming with a smooth, fluid motion that defies engineering logic. This isn't calibration, he whispers. It's metamorphosis. The beam grows denser. The temperature inside the cabin spikes, not dangerously, but enough to make him sweat. His vision blurs for a moment, and when it clears, he sees it. The S1's roof begins to flatten. Its wheels retract slightly. The undercarriage glows with a crystalline blue pattern, complex geometric lines that pulse like a heartbeat. Suddenly, the voice returns, deeper and more resonant than before. Phase shift initiated. The businessman's breath catches in his throat. Phase shift? Into what? The question barely leaves his mouth before a violent surge of static crackles into the air. Sparks dance across the beam like electric fireflies. Then, a deafening boom reverberates through the warehouse. Not an explosion, but a displacement. The SUV rises. Not by inches, by feet. Straight up into the air, suspended inside the energy column as though gravity has been overridden. Below it, the painted circle on the warehouse floor lights up fully, revealing a pattern he hadn't seen before. A perfectly symmetrical ring covered in ancient symbols, none he recognizes. The businessman grips the seat, staring upward as the vehicle hovers silently. This can't be real. His eyes flick to the far end of the warehouse, where the shadowy figure had stood. They're gone. The spot is empty now, except for a small glimmer on the floor, like a reflection, or a device. But he can't move. The door remains sealed. The hovering SUV rotates slowly, not freely, precisely. Controlled. Engineered. The new crystalline patterns under the body align perfectly with the glowing circle below, and instantly the beam shifts color, from white to deep ultraviolet. A shockwave bursts outward. The warehouse lights flicker. Metal beams groan. Dust storms swirl violently. His ears ring. The voice returns, clearer, colder. Phase 2. External sync. The entrepreneur blinks through the haze, trying to decipher the meaning. External sync with what? The SUV's form becomes sharper. Not an SUV anymore. Something sleeker, more aerodynamic, edges curved like a concept vehicle 20 years ahead of its time. The front end reshapes into a narrow, pointed design. The realization hits him like a punch. It's turning into another model. The glow intensifies again. The beam starts pulling something from the air, dust particles, metal fragments, even the moisture around them, gathering into the shifting body of the vehicle. But then, a new sound breaks through the chaos. A metallic clink from somewhere behind the warehouse walls, followed by another, and another. As if machinery hidden in the structure is waking up one piece at a time. The businessman strains to look over his shoulder. Panels on the walls begin sliding open, revealing long corridors filled with machinery that shouldn't exist in an abandoned building. Robotic arms, coil generators, rotating rings. Equipment he's never seen in any American facility. This place is more than a calibration site. The beam around the vehicle expands outward, swallowing the floor markings and cutting through the dust-filled air until it touches the sides of the warehouse itself. The walls shake violently. Concrete cracks. Metal bends. The entire building is reacting. Suddenly the voice speaks again, this time louder, echoing through the steel and concrete. External sink coming online. The entrepreneur's heart freezes, because behind the crumbling wall, something enormous begins to move. Something big enough to shake the building. Something mechanical, but alive in its own way. He leans forward, squinting into the dust as the wall finally gives way. And through the collapsing concrete, a colossal shape emerges from the shadows. A machine. A structure. A tower-like construct rising from the foundation. Lights blink along its sides like awakening eyes. It turns toward the suspended S1, humming with the same energy. The businessman's voice trembles. My God, what have they built out here? The tower begins to charge. Energy arcs between it and the hovering vehicle. The entire warehouse vibrates as the air fills with electric heat. And just as the first arc connects, and the S1 floods with violent blue light, everything freezes. Time feels suspended. Even sound disappears. And the next moment is where everything changes forever. The arc of blue energy hangs between the hovering vehicle and the towering construct, frozen in midair like lightning caught in a photograph. The businessman blinks, unsure if time has truly slowed, or if the energy itself is distorting everything around him. A low-frequency vibration pulses through his body. The air thickens. His ears pop as if the pressure in the warehouse has suddenly doubled. Then, time snaps back. The beam slams into the S1 with a violent surge. The SUV jolts upward another few feet, suspended like a puppet on invisible strings. The tower responds with a deeper metallic groan, its coils spinning faster, pulling energy from the air itself. Sparks crawl across its surface like living creatures. The cabin lights flicker, and the screen in front of the businessman displays a new word: convergence. His voice is barely a whisper. Convergence with what? The walls shake harder now. Dust falls from the rafters. The warehouse feels like a living organism awakening from a century-long sleep. Then the tower releases a second arc, thicker, brighter, aimed directly at the vehicle's undercarriage. It hits with a thunderous crack. The S1 explodes in brightness, so bright the businessman covers his eyes, peering through his fingers just enough to see the impossible transformation accelerating. The vehicle's body shifts again, sharpens, extends, then compresses. Panels fold inward like origami. The wheels retract entirely. A long, sleek aerodynamic hull emerges where the SUV shape once was. The businessman gasps. This isn't a car anymore. Another surge. The tower's rings rotate faster, blurring into a single glowing disk. The energy beam begins to pull the transforming craft toward it, inch by inch, as if gravity itself has been replaced by something stronger. The craft hums, a new sound, deeper, more resonant, no longer the gentle whisper of electric motors. This is something else. Something not meant for roads. A panel in the ceiling tears open, revealing a dark shaft lined with metallic grooves. Wind rushes downward, drawn by the intense energy at the center of the room. The craft angles upward slightly, still suspended, its form now almost resembling a small aerospace vehicle, compact, elegant, impossibly advanced. The businessman stares in disbelief. You're ascending. The tower shifts, its upper section aligning with the craft perfectly, as if docking with it through invisible geometry. Suddenly, something moves in the corner of his vision. The figure, their back, emerging from behind a fallen piece of concrete. But this time, they walk toward the energy field without hesitation, their silhouette clearer now. They wear a long coat, dark and fitted, with what looks like a metallic band around their wrist pulsing in sync with the tower. Electricity dances across the floor around their feet, but never touches them. The businessman shouts,
Hey,
"What is this? Who are you?" The figure stops just outside the beam of light. Their face remains hidden in shadow, but their voice, calm, steady, and unmistakably human, finally answers. "You weren't supposed to see this." A chill runs through the businessman's spine. The figure lifts their hand. The metallic band on their wrist glows brighter. Instantly, the craft responds, its entire body rippling with energy that matches the pulse on the band, as if listening, as if obeying. The tower emits another blast of light. The craft shifts into its final configuration, edges smooth, hull gleaming, sleeker than any aircraft, more compact than any drone. Something between them. Something entirely new. The figure speaks again, louder, with a tone that carries authority. Phase 3. Prepare for departure. The businessman's eyes widen.
departure?
To where? Through the ceiling? Across the country?
Or
Somewhere far beyond? The craft aligns perfectly with the open shaft above. Glowing, humming, alive. The energy in the warehouse peaks, shaking the ground beneath them. The beam narrows, intensifying into a laser-like column ready to launch. The businessman grips the seat, torn between terror and awe. And just as the first tremor of liftoff begins, as dust and debris swirl upward in a spiraling tornado, the figure turns their head toward him and says one more thing. One thing that makes his blood run cold. The businessman's heart slams against his ribs. "What do you mean I'm going with it?" His voice cracks, swallowed by the raging hum of the launch sequence. The figure raises their wrist again. The metallic band flashes, once, and the cabin doors lock with a sharp mechanical snap. The businessman lunges at the handle anyway, pulling with all his strength. It doesn't budge. The craft rises higher inside the beam, its new form shimmering with impossible geometry, panels shifting like they're alive. The entire warehouse begins to shake, loose bolts rattling, metal beams groaning, dust cascading from the ceiling in thick, choking clouds. "Hey,
stop.
let me out," he shouts. The figure steps closer, unfazed by the chaos. For the first time, a fragment of their face becomes visible in the swirling dust. Calm eyes, unwavering focus. "You activated the loop beyond safe limits," the figure says. "Now the vessel is bonded to you. If you exit, it collapses." The businessman's breath catches. "Collapses? You mean?" "Implodes," the figure clarifies, "and takes everything within a 3-mile radius with it." His stomach drops. He glances around the cabin, every gauge flashing, every display pulsing, the floor vibrating beneath his feet like a living heartbeat. The craft is no longer a vehicle. It's a reactor with him in the center. The energy column tightens, focusing like a lens. The rotating rings of the tower sink perfectly to the craft's pulse. Vim, vim. The noise grows deeper, richer, filling the entire structure. The businessman grips the steering wheel, not for control, just to ground himself, to feel something real. Above him, the shaft glows blue. He can't see the sky. Only light. Pure, endless light. Then, with a trembling voice, he asks, Where is this thing going?" The figure finally lowers their hand, as if granting him a mercy. Someplace it was never meant to reach without a pilot. The craft rises another meter. The beam condenses even further, the air snapping with electricity. "I'm not a pilot," he yells. The figure gives a faint, almost sympathetic tilt of the head. "After this, you will be." A deafening rumble tears through the warehouse. The tower's coils glow white-hot. The beam folds inward, wrapping the craft in swirling spirals of energy. The businessman braces himself as the entire structure trembles violently.
Dust. Light. Heat.
A sound like the world splitting in half. Then,
Bang.
the beam erupts upward. The craft surges into the shaft, launched like a bullet. The G-force slams him against the seat, stealing his breath, tearing the air from his lungs. His vision blurs. Tunnels of light warp around him. Gravity stretches him downward, crushing, relentless. The last thing he hears is the figure's voice echoing faintly below. Phase 3 complete, begin Phase 4. The craft breaks through something. A barrier? A ceiling? A layer of reality itself? The whiteout fades slowly, like fog lifting after a storm. The businessman gasps, clutching the armrests, trying to steady himself. The crushing weight disappears. The vibration stops. The roar of the launch fades into absolute silence. He blinks.
Once. Twice.
And then he sees it. Outside the cockpit window. Not a sky. Not clouds. Not stars. But a vast, swirling ocean of blue and silver light, stretching endlessly in every direction. Like the northern lights, but alive, flowing, pulsing, moving with purpose. Where am I? He whispers. The screen lights up. Phase 4. Transit realm engaged. He stares at the words, speechless. The craft floats, weightless, moving through the luminous expanse as if it's gliding on invisible currents. Then, slowly, shapes begin to appear in the distance. At first faint, then clearer. Structures. Colossal ones. Towering silhouettes made of light and geometry, some rotating, some stationary, all interconnected by threads of shimmering energy. It looks nothing like Earth, nothing like any universe he knows.
His pulse spikes.
This is impossible. A soft chime breaks the silence. The cockpit's AI speaks in a calm tone. Destination approaching. Destination? I didn't choose anything, he snaps. But the AI responds with something more unsettling. The loop chose for you. Before he can argue, the luminous pathways ahead open, forming a giant, spiraling corridor that pulls the craft forward. The structures glow brighter as he approaches, almost welcoming him. His breath trembles. And then, across the shimmering expanse, he sees something that makes his heart stop. Another craft. Identical. Same design. Same shimmering hull. But older. Weathered. Damaged. Floating lifelessly, like a ghost ship. As he drifts past it, he sees faint markings scorched into its side. Markings he recognizes. Numbers. A serial code. The same serial code that was on the crate that delivered the S-1 to America. His eyes widen. There was another one before me. A chill crawls up his spine. What happened to its pilot? The AI interrupts his thoughts. Final phase, arrival. The spiraling corridor tightens. The craft slows. The light dims until a single glowing structure comes into focus. A platform. Suspended in emptiness. Smooth, metallic, circular, like a landing pad built from pure energy. The craft descends gently. Touches down. Everything falls silent. Then, footsteps. The businessman freezes. Someone or something is approaching the platform. A silhouette emerges from the glowing mist. A human figure.
Tall. Calm.
Familiar. As they step into the light, the businessman's breath escapes in a shaky whisper. No, it can't be. The figure smiles, an exhausted, knowing smile. Took you long enough. The businessman stares, stunned. Because standing before him is the same shadowed figure from the warehouse. Only here, in the glowing realm, their face is fully visible. It's him, a perfect mirror of himself. Older, worn, but unmistakably the same man. The businessman staggers back. Who are you? The older version steps closer, placing a hand on the hull of the craft. I'm the one who piloted the previous vessel. He nods toward the broken ship drifting nearby. And I've been waiting for someone to finish what I couldn't. The younger businessman's voice shakes. Finish what? The older version's eyes lift toward the endless lights surrounding them. Earth isn't the origin of this technology. Africa didn't discover it, they rediscovered it. The younger man swallows. Then, what is this place? The older version steps forward, placing a steady, reassuring hand on his shoulder. This, he says softly, is where the technology came from. And now that you're here, you're part of it too. The platform glows brighter. The structures shift. The corridor opens wider, as if inviting them both deeper inside. The older version smiles, gently but knowingly. Welcome, pilot. The screen inside the craft pulses with a final message. Phase 5. Integration. The younger businessman stares into the glowing distance, realizing he has just stepped into a destiny he never chose, but can no longer escape. The light consumes them both, and the world they left behind has no idea what just departed its sky, or what might one day return.